Welcome to day one of the Unity Consciousness event. I am so excited for you all to be here. We are going to be having a wonderful heart and soul-led conversation with Shannon Pardini, and we're going to really be diving into some wonderful conversation, incorporating the theme of cultivating deep presence and embodying pure love, as well as expanding on some breaking quantum physics with Shannon. So thank you, Shannon, so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And it's just a joy to see all your faces. So I really look forward to embodying this information with you guys. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, Shannon. So what we'll do is we'll start with a short presence meditation, and where we can speak Shannon will be speaking her intention into as I will, and then we'll go into a wonderful conversation for a bit, for about maybe 30 minutes or so, and then we'll welcome any questions that you have or any guidance that you would like to receive from Shannon and I, and we'll see what magic we can create. All right. So just inviting you all to take a deep breath in, close your eyes if you wish to. Just inviting you to allow yourself to feel your body with your breath. Welcoming yourself, saying hi to yourself, welcoming yourself here to this moment. Welcoming yourself here, and if you wish, on your breath, just allowing your breath to be the light of life, just a welcoming in life into your body through each inhale and exhale. Welcoming yourself here more and more to this moment, and releasing any energy or cord, just asking anything that took place before this moment or anything that is to take place after this call for you to just release and go to where it needs to go, and welcoming yourself fully present into your body. Feeling your breath and welcoming. I'm just going to welcome a nice golden light to surround our whole space. And if you wish to, welcoming a nice white light into your body, welcoming your energy to ground down all the way into earth, into the center of earth, all the way down, grounding your body, your energy. And if you're feeling any tension in your body, your mind, and your heart, just welcoming this light to surround you, hold you, welcoming in the light and the wisdom and the power of your soul and your presence to allow you to receive all that you're here to receive in this conversation, this connection, this embodiment today. For your mind and heart to be open, for your energy to be open, for any transformation, any healing, any embodiment, any inspiration and joy and peace to enter you today with us. And with that, I'd love to just create an intention that in this moment we feel this deep connection with ourselves, that through this experience we get to know ourselves better. We get to feel more at home in our minds, our bodies, and our hearts, that we feel more connected with the truth, and that we're able to walk and be and feel and experience life more as who we are. We have the courage and strength to express this truth of ourselves in every moment. So thank you for being here. And Shannon, please, I'd love to hear your intention for this space in this moment now.
Yeah, just dropping into our bodies, allowing the intelligence in the consciousness to turn on. Just leaving the intellect and mind and ego, and instead bringing through a frequency of knowing that your innate authenticity is going to be present here. And with that, just holding a space of clarity intelligence, and just wanting to integrate the information that's yet to come. I thank you all for being here.
Beautiful, Shannon. Thank you. Appreciate that. And with that, I'd like to just share a few words about Shannon as we begin the conversation. Shannon Pardini is a vessel for an evolutionary DNA intelligence. Through the arts of writing, singing, channeling, hypnosis, and multidimensional energy work, she brings forth an organic source of intelligent light frequencies that supports our human vessel and its incredibly intelligent biotechnology. Absolutely. These light frequencies help restore distorted DNA and resolve discordant belief systems that are no longer serving our consciousness, collective, and our personal. And so I'm really excited for you, Shannon, to share more about this incredible way of being intentional with our experience with our DNA and tapping into this intelligence. So I'd love to hear from you what's present for you and what this means for you to break quantum physics and bring us into the intelligence of our DNA. What's present for you in this right now?
Well, thank you for that question. It really is presence. It's embodying intelligence, within the consciousness of the physical body. And so, for me, walking the path of ascension and doing it daily within my choices and understanding that there is a quantum anatomy to be turned on in the physical human experience, that lights me up. And that's what I'm inspired to do. I want to show people that they are the greatest biotechnology. This physical vessel is so intelligent, and it really is up to us, deeply going inside and activating this dormant technology, let's just say. But there is a dormant anatomy that's waiting to be turned on with different levels of consciousness, which are tools for us. And that's the path that I walk every day. And that's what I've been teaching for a couple of years now, and experiencing what is possible in human potential with an incredible group of women and some men. But that's where I'm at. Is I want people to have the experience of embodying consciousness so they can start using DNA the way it was innately meant to be used. So from there, I'll let you kind of tap in.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, I so appreciate the level of what you're bringing through right now, because I find that the more that we are going inside, the more that we are choosing ourselves, it is like the DNA is responding to that information, and the codes are waking up, they're rearranging themselves, to really support us in coming into this quantum technology that we really are. So I'm really curious, actually, the question that was coming to my mind is, what have you experienced? Like, what's happened for you in this embodiment?
That's such a great question. It's, my life trajectory is just very clear. When you start turning on intelligence within your body, when the codes within the DNA get activated that are purely authentically you, when you learn how to drive this physical vessel, what happens is the primal chemical body dissipates. The emotions and the chemicals, it's easy to discern what they are versus what's a pure frequency in your body. And so again, this biotechnology in the body, our physical body it already knows what it is. It knows that it is innately a self-healing, magnificent, intelligent, and I'm going to say machine. That's not a great word for it, but it's just the capabilities that we have in human potential is through mastering consciousness in this physical body, and then learning how to drive DNA the way it was supposed to be. So those are just like little analogies. But again, for me, on this path, I don't have chemical body anymore. I'm not stuck in the primal suffering and survival looping programs. I have become very youthful. You know, my physical body is getting very strong, and because it's not occupying all that looping system, you know, my body's not hooked into the matrix vibratory frequency. We actually can, and that's what ascension is, bypass the frequency of the matrix. And as we all know, it is very slow. It creates a very slow spin rate in your cells. It creates very slow moving waves in the physical body. And for most of humanity, because they're only running at a 10 to 12% of how they're using their DNA, when that slow spin rate is happening, we're creating all types of looping, all types of chemical reactions in our lives. And it's from programming that we've been programming ourselves over all space and time. But what's happening with that is the body feels dense. The body feels asleep, right? Where the body actually is in automatic behavior. Your beautiful cells are taking in all that information and they don't care what they're taking in, right? They're just playing that out. And so it becomes all these timelines within the body. And so now that I understand, you know, human is just a creator. We are these magnificent creators. And, you know, everything I just said, I want you guys to kind of step back. It's because DNA, which is our software system, the way we're using it, when we're working at 10 to 12%, the quantum anatomy is dormant. And what's happening there is we're in observation of our environments, the quantum field, the matrix. The quantum field, matrix, and the environment, they're all the same thing. But we're in observation of those frequencies. And so what's happening is our mind and intellect, which most of us think is our consciousness, which it is not, is taking in those looping frequencies, and it's playing that out cellularly in our body. And so it doesn't have to be that way. There is a natural way to use DNA. And the name for that is called expression. And what does that even mean? It's when you start learning how to work with your software system of the DNA, and you're able to start coding with pure frequency from working from an intelligent source. And again, that's consciousness. Consciousness is always going to be a tool. But when you're working from that source, it actually can, you know, train your body to start coming back online. Because again, the body is the consciousness, but you have a few different systems here you really need to learn how to work before they will start synchronizing and then creating that ascended state, right? And then what's happening there? Well, the body's going into a space of a frequency that it really loves, and it's no time, no space. It's a 0 point in the body. And so I'm going to take a step back because I know that's a mouthful, and I'm going to let you ask a question, and then maybe I can organize it better for you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's all really beautiful information. And I concur, like just from my own connection with the DNA and working on these levels, definitely the body feels more vitality. I feel more youthful. My body definitely processes things much faster. There's less emotional charge with things. There's that space where there's more flow, there's more ease, there's more witnessing and lightness, you know, and that capacity to just have that presence, you know, just be in that presence. And with that presence, what I always say with the presence, we're more expanded. We have more access to more information about ourselves, about our environment, and we're able to move more in flow and in sync with what it is that's really happening. It's like that, it's like we're tapped in, like we think of the matrix, we're tapped into the coding system, you know, when we're in this space. And I love how you said the primal chemical body dissipates, because that's what it's like. It's like those desires, you know, what we might call the desires, or the way that we've tapped into our emotional mental fields before, of like maybe even just regret or grudges or frustrations or judgments. It's like those just, whew, you know, we're not so connected into the way the nerve system has responded to emotional issues in the past. You know, we don't hold on to that, and that weight just drops, and it drops in the physical body and it drops in the energy body, right? And it's so powerful. So the question I have could you give us an example of what it's like to actually work with this intelligence, like to consciously connect in and have that relationship with it?
Sure. Yeah. It's something that takes time, but most of us can master it, I would say, in 2 to 3 months. But it does require, being attuned to these higher frequencies that are coded in our DNA and using them as tools. And so there's different ways to do that. And then also it really takes understanding the difference between emotions and frequency, right? Emotions create chemicals. Frequency, pure frequency, is just a pure frequency. And so knowing that emotions are creating chemicals at your body at any one time, well, those are signals to your consciousness. It's essentially your body telling you you're plugging into observation in your environment, and you just pulled in a looping system that's already programmed within you. And so there's things to master, right? And then there's also understanding DNA works in 2 ways. You can stay in the observation of the quantum field or your environment, right? And what's going to happen, though, when you're observing in your environment, you're always going to be looking for some type of identity. Right now, this is where people are working at the 10 to 12% of their DNA. That's why humanity is working at a very low consciousness. They're looking for any type of information that's already programmed in their body. They're looking for a frequency match. And so there's another way to train the body, and you got to wake it up first, but it's learning these pure frequencies and understanding, or actually better word is embodying the consciousness, so that you can start waking up the physical body. So it's the intelligence. Your intellect and your ego are not where they're going to go into the observation. But when you start waking up the physical body, and there's tools, again, we use, there's different ways that I do it or teach it. I teach people how to hold pure frequency that is above the matrix vibratory rate, right? But there's different steps to that. And then there's other ways where in the class that I teach, Breaking Quantum Physics, we use pictographs that hold consciousness, right? And so again, to answer your question, really, it's just, there's a few things to master to start moving the body into intelligence and waking it up. And again, it's understanding that the DNA is the greatest software system that we have, and that there's 2 ways. You can use it in the inversion, which humanity is currently doing, where it's an observation of the quantum field. Well, what's the quantum field? When we observe in the quantum field, we're going right into space, which is creating time, which is creating form, right? And it doesn't matter how far you go, it's going to be all in program reality, because we're in observation of it. If we're in observation of it, we're going to pull in some type of loop that is already programmed in our body. And so that's why embodying consciousness in the physical body, you can bypass that observation piece. But it's, again, you have to train your body to start holding intelligence, so it starts working in the proper way of the DNA, which is expression. And what does that even mean? It's knowing your body as if it's an instrument in pure frequency. And each of these pure frequencies are an embodiment of a higher consciousness than the matrix or your environment itself. It bypasses all our looping cycles and chemicals. Because when you look at all the chemicals in the belief systems, at a certain point, they're all of a similar frequency. They have different frequencies, but they're still low vibratory, right? They're slow moving waves in the body. They create dents, they create disease, aging, and so forth. And so there's just mastery here, but people like ourselves and, Kristen, is like, we've been doing this for so long. And so now it's like, we have all this information where we really can tap in and embody, get present, because that's where the ascension is going to take place. It's never going to take place in our environment or the external. It's really like co-creating in the innate intelligence of you and turning on that dormant quantum body. there is so much electricity in this body that's wanting, like the synapses and, you know, how the DNA is coding, that it just wants to turn on, but it's waiting for us to fully show up. And what is that going to take? First, it takes embodying, like teaching the body how to walk up a ladder of consciousness. And that ladder of consciousness each holds a frequency. And the only way I can equate it right now, because it's a really hard language to have a dialogue around sometimes, but it's like a fine-tuned instrument. Just think of each of those notes holding a high level intelligence of consciousness. And we can fully train our bodies into holding each one of those frequencies or notes, but it's each a consciousness frequency that's above the matrix vibratory rate. And that's what's so awesome is, you know, again, with humanity, we've never been told how to hold this very high resonance coding that our DNA is just waiting for us to turn on. So I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, no, there's a lot in there, and I really appreciate that because I feel that's what we're working with. And a lot of times what I'm working with, you know, the people that as well is, okay, let's shift from identity. Let's really, and first it's like practicing that presence of observation at first. You go, oh, I'm observing what this identity is always plugging into, you know, and then unplug. And then we go, oh, well, now that I can observe, right? Now that I can observe the identity and observe what's happening, then it's like, oh, I don't have to engage with that at all. Right. And then I can tune in and feel what it is that it feels like to feel that frequency of who I am. If it's an energy, that quality, I kind of say, I use the word quality of being a lot. Like, what is that joy or what is that connection? What does that expression really feel like? And then that's where we want to practice being in, you know, as we're identifying what the identity or the ego wants to keep plugging into. Unplug, feel that frequency and keep practicing that, right? And then it's like, ooh, then that DNA and then all that information starts to turn on. And that's where we get to a practice embodying the frequency, right? These pure frequencies that you're speaking of, so that that software can turn on and we're not plugged into the time, space, form, dimension. We're more in the whole, what we like I call the light body or the energy body, or just the energy of our beingness that's not as dense as the, you know, the physical form that we're constantly interacting with, right? So I appreciate this beautiful language that you're using to say, okay, what pure frequency are you? What pure frequency are you? Let's tune into that. Let's engage with that. And so with that, the question that was coming to me for this was, as we're knowing our body, as we're really, it's almost like making that decision or that commitment, like, okay, I am going to train my brain, right? My experience to just believe, to know, to be on this discovery path that this is a pure frequency body, that we are quantum. So if we're shifting that system, so what does it mean to you to actually break physics then? What are we doing in that process of this frequency? Yeah.
The way that I teach and the way that we teach on the platform, I co-created I'm a co-author Breaking Quantum Physics with the very lovely Jules Arnaz. But the way that we teach is, you know, we have 5 weeks of unhooking, 5 weeks of learning how to unhook from your looping system, 5 weeks of unhooking and looking at how we're teaching the cell to split, right? Like when we're in observation of the quantum field, you learn how your emotions and the chemicals are creating a very defined frequency of some looping pattern that's already stored in you. And then again, with our organs already, they just have a frequency match. They know what hertz they're going to match up with. So if we're in any type of primal fear, it's going to be coming through the kidneys, right? Any type of anger is going to be going through the liver, grief, lungs, chest. So there is a way to fully understand how the body's operating with our very deep subconscious looping systems. And it's one, just knowing that anytime I'm in a chemical or emotion, which is the same, it just means the same thing to me. We don't need to make this complex. It means that we're telling stories, we're in deep illusions, we're fully operating from a program reality in our subconscious, and that's all it is. And because the biotechnology of the body is so sophisticated, it's sending signals. It's like, here's this chemical, here's this chemical. This isn't you, that's all it is it's just saying, get back in your lane. It just wants to hold a pure frequency of no time, no space, right? To start before you can really start going into these masterful frequencies. But from there, it's like, we teach people how to unhook, to really take a look at what they're observing at and what it's co-creating, right? Like our cells mimic the matrix. All our cells right now are mimicking the matrix, but it doesn't have to be that way. So 5 weeks of unhooking. And then we move into the next 5 weeks, where now that our body's in a place where it's in a field of consciously understanding how it was pulling in so many timelines of our programs, of why it was so dense, you're naturally at a state of more calm, more embodiment of consciousness and intelligence. Really, at that next 5 weeks, that your body holds the intelligence. It's not the mind, the ego, or the intellect, and so that's a huge quantum leap to discern from, because you can start creating choices from there. You can start catching yourself when you're in your environment and trying to give it a name. You can, and then from there, you can actually start co-creating with a tool, right? 0 point would be a tool where you start making choices from that space of, okay, well, I know my body's intelligent. I'm going to bring myself to a space to get me out of this chemical loop. And then from there, I'm going to make a choice. What within my intelligence would I make the choice from now? Because we're all always being shown of where we should go next, but it's that ego, mind, intellect, all the same thing. That's, in that, that, it's hard for us to discern, like, what is a yes or a no for me. But once you start really learning how to unhook from that primal chemical state, our looping systems or observation in the quantum field, that the next steps is just choice. You can make choice. And when you start doing, you can start teaching your body these different levels of consciousness. So when the body starts clicking on is when you can start discerning, where am I at in this field? And then the last part of, once we're making choices from the intelligence and your body's really learning how to shift gear in different levels of consciousness. And so the body's going to 0 point. It knows how to reset itself. It sees that you're in identity. So you know how to neutralize it and take yourself out. The next gear is, just going to a consciousness of what your intelligence is. Well, you're not this primal chemical body. You're not your mind. You're not your ego. And so it's easy to start discerning, okay, well, I'm going to hold this field of intelligence. It has to be attuned, for a while so people can actually understand what they're holding. But again, when you utilize frequency as tools, and it's really just gives you a way, again, to get out of the matrix vibratory rate. That's the way that I see it, the resonance. We all can unhook from it. But again, there's different levels of consciousness. There's 5 levels of consciousness that I teach within the physical body to pull yourself out there. And it's really like, learning how to switch gears in the car. And then once you do that, the dormant anatomy, the synapses, all the electrical system starts coming on. It actually, your body becomes consciousness, and it knows how to hold these higher frequencies, which are coding in the DNA waiting for you to turn on. They all start working together.
Right.
And so when you're in that space, and then that's another 5 weeks that I take people through, is working in the ascended body and so forth. And once you do that, you can see all the loops in quantum physics. You can go through the spiritual laws, and it's just like everything is a big looping system, and you can see how our cells are playing that out.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing with the cell is you can, learn how to run your software system where you can make the cell become intelligent, and it starts coding the body in those frequencies.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well said. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm sure everyone here can relate to, those looping states, when we get into a thought pattern or an emotional pattern and, you find yourself thinking the same thing or feeling the same thing in in a span of an hour or days, or when someone says something, it's the same thought that shows up or the same reaction that shows up or the same physical sensations. And this is such an incredible opportunity to just start saying, okay, wait, do I really want to engage with that looping system? Do I really want to keep that programming, as the default, as my system, and that's what I'm hearing is like, wow, we're resetting, we're resetting and turning off all those defaults and actually coming into co-creation, conscious co-creation with our life force energy that these pure frequencies are. So are you actually working with very specific frequencies? Because I know some people might be listen to frequencies like on YouTube or whatever, like the 528, the 432, these different frequencies. I'm really curious. What specific frequencies do you like to tap into to support the system?
So to support the system is teaching one to come into 0 point. There's 5 levels of consciousness that we teach that supports what 0 point is. But again, it's when a human is in 0 point, from where I'm coming from, we're teaching them how to unhook from the matrix, take yourself out of observation. And from there, the body knows that it's not in timelines. You can feel the body as one field, one wave. And that's all the body wants to be. Right now, again, it's so congested with timelines because of the way we use identity and observation. So that's one specific frequency. And then again, just learning one other frequency of what intelligence is. And again, there's a whole meaning behind that. And it'd take me, an hour or so to teach you guys and so forth to hold it. But it's when you master these, it takes time to embody. And so that's why for Breaking Quantum Physics, that course is 3 months. It really takes holding people in that state until they can finally learn the different, quantum systems. And it is actively participating in how DNA really works. Well, you have to learn how to turn off observation. Then you have to understand levels of consciousness in your body. Humanity in its first state is asleep. The body's in automatic pilot. It's the software system, the DNA, is going into the quantum field, program reality, looking for a match, coding, pulling that into the body. Well, what's happening in the body? The body's trying to hold every type of timeline you're pulling in for that one code. We're so multidimensional. So I'm just going to use, say we have a major victim programming going on, right? And we know in our everyday lives, if I'm being victimized, everything that I identify is going to be somewhat in my job. I'm going to feel like a victim, around my beloved. If I hear stuff, I'll probably feel triggered, around how I eat and so forth. We know that these major limited beliefs, they're multidimensional. And so what it's doing in the human right now at its first level of consciousness, where people are asleep, you can't even turn on the quantum anatomy, is because, again, the body is just ingesting, holding all these frequencies. That is not the truth to who we are. They're very slow moving waves in frequency. And so it just creates this very dense feeling. It's very lethargic. It's very it makes us procrastinate. It's hard to, get out of that untethered trap feeling. And that's the first state of consciousness. The body's pulling in a ton of timelines for all different types of belief systems because they play out multidimensionally in the timeline we're co-creating, right? So again, our bodies are our consciousness. And it's it's a direct reflection of our consciousness too, of what's playing out in our environment. And so that's why at this point we're getting so sophisticated and so smart, but it's so critical for us to really start coming in and embodying these, learning how to embody these frequencies that are innately us. You know, again, we're the intelligence, we're the source. Nothing is outside of ourselves. And so if we can go in and start mastering, you know, you learning what the frequency of intelligence within you really is, it will quantum leap you, and then you're giving your body a chance to start turning on all these electrical synapses and, you know, the DNA functioning of its true frequencies.
Yeah.
Am I going too far out there?
Oh no, I mean, not for
Okay.
me, but I'm not sure
Okay.
about yeah.
Okay.
But what I'm feeling is, you know, I feel that what I'm really understanding, which, you know, is something that I'm supporting others with too, is like shifting out of that identity, shifting out of that, but through observation at first, right? So what I'm really curious of is, because we're seeing, feeling, sensory beings, what is it like to not observe? What's the shift from observing
Mm,
to being in that 0 point state? Because I get into, you know, because I can understand it on the way I experience it, right? But then what's it like to shift from that for you, and then what you support people in with that now? Yeah.
yeah,
And it
what
basic.
happens is you really get pulled on your trajectory of your true timeline. When
Mhm.
your body's not occupied in
Mhm.
any of the limited beliefs or the looping chemical patterns that were once running and you're unhooked from the matrix, the body consolidates. It just wants to be that one wave. The body's no longer creating all this space to make room
Mhm.
for all that low vibratory frequency or waves. Instead, when you start consciously attuning and your body starts clicking on, it gets really consolidated, and so you're holding just this one frequency and you're not bombarded. And with your body itself, you can just, it's a tuning fork. Like it has this momentum and propulsion to it that it knows exactly where it needs to be or go, because you're creating a timeline now where it's not from your programs, it's not from congestion within the body creating and looking for those frequencies. Like attracts like, it's not pulling from program reality. Instead, the body's consolidated. You're working from the coding, the intelligence coding of the DNA that's turning on your soul frequency, or you can call it DMT, your soul frequency or source.
Yeah.
And it already knows you. It already authentically knows you at your 100% human potential. But as you're walking yourself through this ascension path, what happens is you just feel pulled.
Yeah.
You're pulled because it's, again, everything's so consolidated, and it's just almost like that one timeline. It's still a multidimensional experience, but everything's so pure
Yeah.
because you learned how to drive your physical body
Yeah.
in just these frequencies that are much higher than the matrix resonance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that clarity, because I feel that myself, you know, once, and I observe that in others. I watch that, I see that happen in others, where it's like, whoa, okay, yeah, they're really stepping into that. And that's why I work with timelines as well with people. Let's clear whenever we're clearing this identity in this body, it's happening through every timeline. So we're clearing all that energy that our body, our soul, our field is holding, so that it just becomes lighter, 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 until we're merging into that one soul consciousness, right? And so what I'm feeling with this, and that I can experience it myself, where it's like there's no room for anything else. Once you know your flow, it's like, you know, the decisions, you know, the placement, you know, it's like you're just, it's, we call it what, the flow state, right? It's like we're in the flow state. And so we're shifting from having to identify with the things and experience those things through the identity, is more just, oh, it's just information we're receiving, we're generating that information from within, and it's like the universe, the outside world, receives it and then reflects back, and we're just like in that space where things are just showing up, the experiences are showing up, we're just in that, and like the decisions aren't hard to make, right? We just, the information comes in, we step in it, we're like, yes, here we go, you know. And that's what I'm experiencing from what you're saying, and from my experience and watching others do that as well. And so we have some questions coming in. So are you ready to shift into the conversation into questions, or do you have anything else you want to share before we do that?
Well, I think just like recapping on what you just said,
Yeah.
when we do start using DNA in its expression and the body is fully conscious and knowing how to work in frequency that is pure, where
Mhm.
you're not co-creating timelines.
Mhm.
You did ask me, it's what happens is you become your innate genius.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
you don't need to go into the matrix or your environment for any information because you became that intelligent. It's everything that you want is right there. You become your own Googling system.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, what's happening is you're not expending energy anymore. You're not in that chemical programming.
Yes.
So again, the body is just in a state where all that electrical system can turn right on because it's not expending the consciousness, which is the electrons.
Right.
And so there's a lot happening there. But again, I want everyone to know that in this state, everything in your body just becomes purely intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of you have incredible intuitive powers, but it's so clear because you're not working from any of your programming in your body anymore.
Absolutely. And I can just support what Shannon is saying here, that I feel that within myself as well. It's like it's internal. Everything is internal. And some of you may be noticing that right now in this massive transition that we're going through, is you're being called to go inside more, to really tune into yourself, tune into your body, really give yourself the attention that it's really calling for. It's like the DNA is even saying, hey, I'm ready to activate. Let's go. All that
Yeah.
internal intelligence is like calling us inside, and when we recognize that we are the projector of reality, then it's like, oh wait, then I need to go clean this up, go inside and clean this up, so that whatever is happening on the outside is that deep, powerful reflection of that source generating energy that this body already is. So thank you. I really appreciate that clarity. So we have a couple questions here. And Joe, yeah, I really like this question because I feel a lot of people have been curious about this around me too, is can events like electrocution turn the DNA codes on unexpectedly? Do you have any experience with that, Shannon?
Yes. I actually should be dead from an
Oh,
electrocution. Um,
okay.
yeah, so I've worked really tightly in the biohacking community about for like 10 years. I used to work with neurofeedback, and then another product it would cellularly charge you. It was a plasma ball where you would stand on silver and it would create a field.
Wow.
And so again, we were doing this event, and it was one of those big biohacker events in Las Vegas, and we were putting all the machines up, and you can only imagine how much power something like that draws. And so we had a bunch of the technology, and it wasn't grounded in, and so everything got placed and put together, and so we were going in and testing everything so we could work with the clients the next day or the people at the particular show.
Mhm.
When I went to hold the plasma ball in charge, because it wasn't ground wired in, it started electrocuting me. I was holding it, and it was just
Oh,
like
wow.
I couldn't let go
Mm.
because of the charge it was. And at one point, my best friend, she caught it, she turned it off. I threw the plasma ball out of my hand, and it was, I think it's being like it felt equated to being like hit by lightning for the amount of electricity that went through my body. And what was such a trip, I knew that was a upgrade, and I've had all types of interesting anomalies in my life, so this wasn't any different.
Mhm.
But with this one, when I left the event, I was so supercharged. I felt like Wonder Woman. It was such a trip. It felt like I had supernatural powers. And when I'd walk by people, they would all turn and look at me because they could feel the field of the electricity going by them.
Yeah.
So with that question, I'm just going to say yes, but please don't go and electrocute yourself, you know?
Yes, please don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, but thank you for that, because that was my experience. And
Yeah.
like I said, you know, even that night when I was sleeping, I was in like probably for like 2 days, I was in such a crazy field of I'll just say electricity, but it was like being a superhero. It was really fascinating.
Yeah. Wow, powerful. I'm glad you're okay. And that
Yeah.
it was a maybe unconscious upgrade, right? Like it was consciously
Oh
created, but like
yeah.
it wasn't something you were like, oh yeah, let's
Consciously
just go grab
unconscious.
this and get electrocuted, right? Yeah, no, I've heard that from other people. I myself have never been like high level electrocuted like that. I've definitely received those zaps that you get when you touch things that aren't grounded, and you're like, whoo, you feel that surge go through the body. And whenever I felt those, I always felt that like, ooh, wow, it felt like something did turn on or something did come alive, because I think what it is too is just like reminding us, even if it's something little, it's like reminding the body, oh yeah, I'm a part of an electrical being, and I'm really meant to be flowing this higher frequency of energy through this body. And so, yeah, but definitely don't go intentionally zapping yourself with anything to try to upgrade your DNA
Right.
bodies.
Yeah. Be careful what
Yeah.
you wish for.
Yeah, be
It's
careful
like
what you wish for. Yeah.
the ascension is gentle. You know,
Yes.
again, you could just come do breaking quantum physics or a course where we take you gently and attune you.
Yes, exactly.
But the anomalies are always fun, right? But
Yeah.
what I've realized about that too is, again, because of observation in the quantum field, even with upgrades and so forth, they're coming from our program reality too, until you fully clean up. I don't experience all the anomalies that I used to, because I've been taken up, you know, and on like ship, like being worked on, where same thing, same level, where I was having an electrical experience going through my whole body, being upgraded. But now I understand that's what was, you know, what I was observing and calling in. And I don't call in any of that stuff anymore, because I know just how intelligent we are without having to have these external experiences of, you know, what we call beings and all that stuff,
Yeah.
because really that's just us in a multidimensional state. And
Yeah.
so the more that we come in and consolidate, it's so much more just brilliant, becoming the intelligence and turning on the consciousness with you, and not having those crazy wild ride experiences. It's just different. And so again, I hope that brings clarity to people, because again, it's the one thing that I love about what I teach and what I stand for is nothing is outside of ourselves. You are the pure
Yeah.
source, the pure intelligence. And if we could all turn on, I couldn't even imagine, you know, what life would be like. It would just be so fun.
Yeah.
Fun to have, you know, everyone just using their DNA the way it was supposed to be, but to be so just at peace in your body and intelligent is, you know, is really where it's at. And the electricity that comes on within your body is a whole different experience. It's so pure, and you're so guided to what you've come here to do. And that to me is where it's at.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you, Shannon. From also just having some really far out experiences that I feel I definitely called in and were powerful and definitely supported me, and I went through a phase of channeling, and I don't think there's anything against channeling, but I've definitely honed it in to where, wow, let's just be in this body, let's be in this energy, and let that intelligence have its expression. Because sometimes, yeah, because I support that 100% of like, let's just not ask any old beings coming, to come in and be our guides and all this stuff, because there's also a lot of not so nice entities that will show up that pretend to be those beings and just, it's, so there's a lot in that. And so trusting in, our own system, trusting in the energy that we are, I think is the superb way to really experience life. And this is, as we're calling it, the ascension. So thank you for that. So Lisa, yeah, let's explore what the term timeline means.
Okay. No, I love that.
Yeah.
So timelines. So let me think of the best way to give an example here. So when we're in DNA, or when you're in your intellect and ego, right? You're in your everyday, say you're identifying. Again, I'm just going to give me a limited belief. Give me something that pops into mind.
Yeah. How about abundance? Like we don't
Okay, lack.
lack.
So
Yep,
lack.
money. Someone just showed a money. Yeah. Lack.
Okay.
Yes.
So lack or money in our observation, right? So our body already has some type of programming already of lack or issues with money. And remember, we're in a big reincarnation loop. A lot of people have had like 500 to 1200 lifetimes or whatever, but it's that just doesn't matter, but there's still carryover, right? Because again, the frequency in the DNA, which is like our soul essence, is DMT. It already knows what you are, but again, because we're holding such a slow moving operating software system, that we're carrying over and holding those dense energies, and then we're still co-creating on that programming in this lifetime too. So that right there is a multidimensional state,
Yeah.
right? But now let's go to the lack. So say I'm someone that has lack and just can't create abundance. Well, then if I'm in my observation with DNA, I'm looking in the field, most of the time my ego is going to identify with anything that's lack. I probably have poor relationships. I probably don't take care of my health on the level that I should be. I'm bringing in a lot of density in my body. I'm probably, with work, it's hard to like manifest and create at work. So what I just said right there was like 4 different timelines, 5 if you want to put in the reincarnation carryover too. We're multidimensional. So what's happening with all those timelines, if I have the frequency of lack programmed in me, and say it's being carried in my kidneys, right? Kidney holds fear. So my observation is pulling in all those frequencies from all those different timelines. Anytime I hook in, anytime I look in the quantum field or matrix, I'm finding that frequency, yet it has multiple timelines. I'm pulling it into my body. It's keeping my body dense. My body's expanding to hold those same frequencies all the time. Now, remember what I said in the beginning, the body just wants to be no time, no space. It doesn't want to be an observation of the quantum field. It wants to be in this pure frequency so you can innately tap in to your soul or source or whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing, but it's your innate intelligence. Mm-hmm. And so does that help with timelines?
Yeah, I hope so. And I'd like to just expand upon what you're saying too, or just bring, because I agree on what your definition or your experience and what you're relating with timelines is like. So if we think about that, we are living in the now where everything exists, right? And we are a soul that came from source, and our unique individual expression, like, Shannon's saying, our pure intelligence is who we are. And we've had all these experiences, before this one, we were maybe in other planets, other star systems, we were on this planet, whatever. All that energy is still at play in what we call timelines, through wherever that life began and ended, wherever that was, and however that was, it's all still present in our experience. And so when we're in this body, all that stuff, all that information is still at play through our DNA, through our energy body, through everything. And so if you hear timeline collapsing or merging or any of that, when we're talking about this, it's what we're doing is we're calling in our intelligence, as Shannon's so beautifully illustrating with the DNA and this quantum experience. When we're bringing all of that in and getting out of our looping systems, getting out of the identity, then all of that information, that all of those things that were held in those timelines dissolves. and we bring like all our pure energy and pure intelligence consciousness from those into this body. So it's like we're creating like what we call a superhuman, a superpower being right now, where we're not like spread out, into all these different experiences. So that's kind of my experience in many different ways, but we could go further into that. But yeah, Lisa says, thank you. So thank you, Lisa, for the
Yeah,
question.
and I love what you just said. And just for me, it's because I'm teaching the ascension path and embodying consciousness, for the last few years,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be complex.
No.
It doesn't, like, really what we're speaking
Yeah.
about is the whole body is just consolidating into one wave of your pure intelligence. And it's really from unhooking from the quantum field in the way that we perceive or observe it. And so again, it really is learning how to ride consciousness like a bike and switch gears into these higher fields, but that you have to embody and train. I don't want to say anatomy, but it has to be embodied. And then again, those gears start working so intelligently within the software system of how you're perceiving, but now you're perceiving just in frequency or intelligence. And the body, it has to be able to master a certain level of consciousness where the system software can do that. So I just wanted to add that was just kind of coming through.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Thank you. Absolutely. So there's a question with the timelines. Can we consciously call in our highest and best line to step and bypass the rest of it as more of an evolutionary step, rather than having an evolutionary step-by-step process? Can we just call in that highest and best timeline? Yeah.
Well,
The
you
bypass.
can't just call it in. It's, you got to understand that the ascension process, you can simplify it, but it takes focus. It takes spiritual discipline or just discipline.
Yeah.
It takes learning to understand what we truly are innately, and that the body in its consciousness right now, because the software system is running very slow, is it's asleep. So you do have to master certain levels of consciousness within the physical body so it can start turning on the dormant technology or your ascended anatomy. And so you can't just call that in. It has to be actively participated in choices that you make and so forth. So why do I say that? Because again, there's a point of mastery where you unhook from your own programming in your body. And so that's where, calling it in, if I'm going to call it in, to me, it's like, well, I'm going to learn how the software system really works. So I stop hooking into my emotions and my chemical and my primal programming and understand where those are coming from. So I can start actively participating in what is intelligent, so I can start turning the body on. It really is an active participation. And again, it's not complex, but you do need to attune to these different systems that are required. And consciousness is a tool. Consciousness isn't just black and white. Consciousness keeps evolving. There's a certain intelligence under each consciousness, and your body has to embody and master that. And it could just be the two or three frequencies.
Yeah.
That, like, mastering 2 or 3 frequencies, you could call that in, but you still have to do the practice. Like, the body has to hold the intelligence of what those frequencies are before it can even start holding a field for it. Does that make sense?
Definitely makes sense. And I
Okay.
hope that supported Linda in her question, because I concur, like, same thing. Like, it does take the consciousness, it takes your awareness, it takes your effort, because what I feel is that we can call it in, right? Like what I've seen people, and just like what this one woman asked too about, is this similar with like the electrocution question, but I think I'll blend these, is like, is this similar to a Kundalini, rising? Is that, when we call in our highest consciousness or highest frequency, there may be places in our bodies where it can land. But if we're still carrying all that dense looping, like Shannon's been talking about, it doesn't have a place to land. we're weighted down. There's all this stuff that's still in the system. It's like, think about your closet. You look at your closet's really full. You've been, packing it up with stuff for years. Maybe you've been living in the same house, right? When our house is our body, right? You've been living in there and you just keep putting stuff in it, whether it's emotions, foods, experience, thoughts, whatever. And then there's all the timelines that are attached to all those things, right? And you go, oh, I want this to be the best closet ever. And you just look at it and you have that intention, but you don't actually go in and like go through stuff, clean it out and shift stuff. Then you're not going to have the best closet ever, right? It's going to be still full of the stuff, right? And so that's just an analogy that came through. Is like, wait, we actually need to go in and get to know what's here and have that conscious relationship with it, to clean it out, to understand it, to be present with it, to allow it and be with it,
Can
right?
I add something to that? I love the
Yeah,
analogy that you're using. So on top of it, everything you just spoke about, right? All those timelines in the closet, that's the program reality frequencies that are embedded cellularly in the body. So from there, it's like you're too fatigued, you feel tethered, stuck, and all that stuff. And so yeah, it's you make a great point that way. But again, it's you guys, it's our bodies have been programmed through all space and time.
yeah,
And because of we're using DNA right now in an inversion, that 10 to 12% operating system, because we're observing in our field, looking for any identity through the ego and the intellect, that's what's happening here. And so we got to learn how to to turn that inside out. We got to learn how to really drive these amazing physical ships that are so ready, like they have all the codes. But again, it's you have to embody these pure frequency consciousness, so you're not making all these timelines or frequencies in the body that are holding and weighing it down, because they're of such a slow moving frequency or hertz.
absolutely. And so with that whole question too, is like electrocution or whatever, that the same as maybe a Kundalini rising experience, where you would just have that like instant awakening where everything just turns on, just curious of what your experience with that is and how you might relate to that with energy
Um,
in your life. Yeah.
well, I had a crazy, like, I guess I've had so many experiences. I lived on with a shaman for a little while, documenting shamanism and the medicines and so forth. And when you're in these fields, like when you're working with the medicines of ayahuasca and witchuma, they all hold a certain frequency. And so I remember like one night after the medicines, I went home, and again, huge Kundalini. I woke up and I was like levitating. It's just like that. It was like I was on a roller coaster, of again, all the electricity, right? The body knows what it is and so forth. Um, but again, with Kundalini, I don't think we don't have to make ascension so hard, because again, I feel like when there's a major Kundalini awakening, there's a lot of activation going on there, right? And the body can ascend rather gracefully and peacefully, where you don't have to go through these quantum leaps, because that stuff you have to integrate pretty nicely, or have someone help you integrate what you just experienced. It really can be a shock to the system when the body's not holding the consciousness yet, right? The whole electrical system got turned on, but I feel like a lot of the Kundalini awakening, there's so much integration that really needs to go there, because the physical body hasn't held the embodiment of consciousness yet, but everything's getting activated. And so it's cool. It's a great experience. But again, I feel like, we're at a point in time where we could do things so much more gracefully and at ease, so the physical body isn't put in shock and awe.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that, because that's what I appreciate with, how we share this is like, let's just let's allow this to be more of a gentle process than just like, slamming our body into trying to slam our body into a new state of being, that it just, we don't want to overwhelm the system. We want to welcome it. I always say invite it. Let's just invite this gently, So another question we're having here is, so do you have advanced, powers, intuitive powers like telepathy or seeing with eyes covered or similar? Do clients develop through these processes? Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been awake. I'm
Yeah.
multi-sensory. I do hypnosis and I go into the body and I can go override and reprogram DNA because I read it as the best way to equate it is I can see everything in frequency. I've mastered frequency in the matrix of what it holds with an algorithm. And so I can see the different frequencies, but I see them as thermal waves and so forth. And then because my body's so intelligent at this point, it's easy for me to read the fields because I'm not in observation. I actually can intelligently interpret things and see where everything is in consciousness in front of me and within me. I always know where I'm making choices from. And then I also see where people, places, and things are in their consciousness, what level of intelligence it's in.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. And I as well, for a long time in my life, even from youth, it's like, it feels like for those of us, some of us came in kind of turned on, and that's why we're able to bring this information to you because we've been doing this. But I also noticed that, and I'm sure Shannon has this as well, is that the more we experience these things and we share these things with others, then it does support others in having whatever their unique soul, expression is, to have whatever unique, what we call unique powers, these, telepathy or clairvoyance, clairsentience, whatever it is, whatever they're designed to come alive with, those things will naturally start coming alive because that is our pure intelligence, as Shannon says, that is our pure intelligence. So, yeah. So let's just take maybe one or two more questions here. Another one is, and I like this question because I have a son and I can share stuff too, is how does it work with children or teenagers that don't necessarily have the understanding or discipline to embody consciousness?
I like that question. Let me think on this one. The kids are already coming in at let's just say at a higher body intelligence because they're being born in a timeline that is, it's just at a higher quantum level is the best way that I can describe it. The youth, they're very sensitive. And again, they're coming in and they're coming into something that naturally is not like a harmonic is what the word I want to say, but it's not a natural frequency to them because they are already a higher even their bodies, like they're so more well defined and stronger and so forth. But again, the kids coming in already have a higher, I don't know what the right terminology is, this presence that they're born into a time where we are moving through this ascension through all of us. And so I think that, when they get the right terminology and the right whatever it is, the right frequency match, I think that they'll shift really fast because they already hold more of an ascended state than we did. When we came in, it was very much like the Kali Yuga, right? The dark ages, the primal, so dense, but it really is a grand time of awakening. But there's so much more to be said about that. I really like, for me, the youth, I think that they will be able to really make the shift. And then at the same time, it's not going to take them that much. Like, look at for us, it's like I finally am coming into my mastery now. This has been decades and decades and decades. For them, they're going to have all the information, but they're going to take it to a whole nother level of what this is. And I already think their bodies are equipped to turn on a lot faster than ours did. I just think there was so much density in our body that they're not so much playing with. But the thing with kids these days is, the matrix for them, because you know, for the kids, I think there's just so naturally at more of source that there's just they're bombarded by the lack of sovereignty and freedom, you know, and the matrix is so polarized. And I don't think we had that. Like, even though we were in that density, it wasn't to this point of like entrapment, right? It's, and so again, I think the kids will, I very much feel this. I feel like they'll make the shift. But again, at the same time, they just have to be like, we have to let them have creative choice. We have to let them express, you know, everything being pointed to them is, you know, how things should be and done. And, you know, again, with just the way the matrix is, it's just like entrapment. But for them, giving them the opportunity to just make choices, whatever that is, and just holding a space for them is, you know, it's what's going to help a little bit right now. But again, I really think they're intelligent beings, and I don't think they're as bombarded in timelines as we were all moving through this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Shannon. I think that they're more hardwired already for this energy of what they're choosing as a soul and a body to come into at this time. And I have an 8-year-old son, and you know, I know that he came in a lot higher energy and wired to do and be in this presence, right? And also I had communication with his higher self, you know, while he was in the womb and everything. And so, and what I notice about children, and what Shannon was saying is giving them creative choice, like really. And also, and what I also think too is not putting pressure. Like, even though I have more of an understanding of who my son is and why he came in and what he's, you know, his higher soul purpose, or, you know, we want to call it, that he came in with, it's like, there's no pressure, right? It's not like, oh, now I'm going to put you in this box and say you have to become this or do this. No, it's like saying, hey, who are you? Really engaging with them and letting them have those moments of expression of who they really truly are, right? And giving them that. And that's why I've chosen to homeschool, unschool my son, because so he can have more of that freedom and that creative choice and those options to tune into that energy. And maybe even just introducing them to different things, having those things, those things in their environment, to where it's not like you're trying to push it on them or trying to say, oh, you need to be conscious or aware, do these things. It's more like, let's just welcome those things into the environment around them, so those parts of themselves go, oh, hey, I recognize that, or I feel that, you know, so that we're just, it's like we're saying with our own self, it's an invitation. It's an invitation, right? And we want it to be gentle. It's not another box.
I
Right?
love that. Yeah, no, I love how you shared. And you know, when I like to kind of consolidate things, thinking about the DNA, you know, really giving them a chance to express, right? Not in observation, but let them just express wherever they are, you know, and just hold and listen to whatever that resonance is coming through for them.
Yeah.
I think is very important, because they're already naturally there.
Yeah.
You know, but again, it's tricky. The matrix is tricky.
Yeah, and the woman that asked the question about that is just the logical mind, you know, is if your child is more logical or reasoning, show them quantum physics, you know, show them, you know, get them like into more of the science of it, you know, rather than, oh, sit and meditate or whatever. Because I noticed that the people who are more logical, they need the facts, they need the science, and there is
Yeah.
the science out there with it right now, right? So just showing that out there. So wow, we've had some really great questions. And I know some of these questions were kind of answered too through the conversation, but do you have one more time for one more, or do we need to shift? Just
Yeah, I can do one or two more, and
okay.
then I should
Yeah.
probably wrap.
Yeah, thank you. So with Gigi, I really like this question, and this is the last question, is what do you see happening with long-standing health issues when one goes through this process?
Yeah, that's a good question, Gigi. Actually, the health issues get eliminated pretty fast, because again, the health issues really is those slow moving density waves where the body is playing on automatic pilot because we're in observation. The mind and the ego and the intellect are looking for any type of information that's, you know, really not letting the body have that intelligence response. So when one goes and starts breaking quantum physics with their body, unhooking from the matrix and how they're trying to identify in their environment, things shift. You know, they can shift pretty fast. I've seen it. You know, our students, like the stuff that I've seen, and even with myself, it really moves you into once the body starts consolidating and it's not holding on to these timelines, and you guys have all learned from this conversation today that these timelines are these observed, limited programming beliefs that we keep pulling back into our bodies, that the frequencies of match. Once we learn how to intelligently work in a different way from that, the body is consolidated. It's able to start turning on these DNA codes that are more of a intelligence that's you. It's true to your source. Your body is already so self-healing. It already knows what it is. And again, this biotechnology, we haven't even tapped it. It is just so brilliant. But just in the beginning processes of you unhooking from how you're viewing things on a daily basis and eliminating that frequency of disease, right? Because what's happening there is, you know, again, the cellular template is bombarded in these really slow moving wave frequencies that are dense, and they attract to certain organs and so forth, which they start creating, you know, where the problems, you know, start creating themselves. But with health, when you unhook and you're using, your body starts turning on in consciousness. And remember, it takes time to attune to teach the body the embodiment of what consciousness is. And there's different levels. The body will start consolidating, and it will go through, it will heal itself. It will surpass certain issues pretty fast, but you have to be focused, you have to be disciplined, and you have to participate in the choices. And so again, you know, everyone can activate their body to really just have a ton of potential, or be self-healing, or to be in the intelligence wherever you want. But it does take dedication, and it does take really stepping into mastering embodiment. You know, it really comes down to embodiment and understanding, you know, what the truth of your pure source and intelligence is, and then mastering holding those embodiment frequencies, because the body will turn on. And again, we're only using 10 to 12% of the DNA. Well, imagine what we're using of the body. It's less than that. So that's why you want to, you know, truly, if you want to step in, it's not hard to do this. It's just that you have to be in that state of you're ready, and it does take focus, and you do have to participate in it daily by choices and where you're making those choices from.
Absolutely, Shannon. I appreciate that. And I think that's a good note to conclude on, is this is a participatory experience. This isn't, you know, oh, all of a sudden one moment, you know, I mean, there are miracles that happen, you know, but for most of us, it does take a lot of attention, a lot of effort in that space. The process can be simple. It's just the training of the mind, the focus, the intention, and that devotion, you know, that devotion to self, to say yes, to keep saying yes to ourselves, to the choices that we're making, and how we're holding our field and attention with that. So Shannon, this has been absolutely a wonderful conversation, and I know people have been enjoying the questions and the answers. And so Shannon does have a wonderful free gift for all of you. If you'd like to share, Shannon, what you're sharing with all of us.
Yeah, so I have a quantum body. It's an attunement, kind of like a meditation, but I pulled it from one of the classes that I was teaching. And, you know, just drop in, take your time with it. You don't have to understand what I'm speaking about within the anatomy and so forth, but it's it's something that I want to share with you all, and just see what intelligent frequency feels like, because I really am speaking from the intelligence when I'm moving through that little attunement. I think it might be 10 minutes or so. But again, enjoy it. Don't get too caught up, but just play in it. And, you know, I honor all of you. It's just such a pleasure to be here and with you, Kristen. And it's, you know, it's embodying what consciousness is what we're all here doing together. And so I just truly thank you all for your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Shannon. Yeah, a lot of people are saying thank you. Fabulous program. Lots of thank yous coming in the chat. So yeah, make sure you click that free gift link under the video. And also this replay will be available for 48 hours, you know, so if there's something that you need to go back and listen to, it's there available for you. And also, you know, if you haven't yet and you want to upgrade VIP, and so you can have all of these, you know, for a lifetime, so you can keep coming back and listening to this to understand more deeply and be able to take part in this, please do that as well. So again, grab that free gift from Shannon, and I love you all so much. Have a wonderful day, and stay tuned for tomorrow. We'll have Erica Von Eaton tomorrow, and that'll be another amazing conversation. So be well, everyone. Enjoy your day, and we'll be with you tomorrow. Be well.
Bye.
Thank you, Shannon. Yes.
Thank you, love.